Hello, everyone. Welcome to the eLearning Champion Pod. Today, we are back with a brand new episode, and we'll be speaking about something that's been really interesting across organizations in the globe about hybrid facilitation. Our guest today is Jamie Champagne. Jamie is beyond her passionate BA title and truly embodies business analysis and adding value to those around her every day. An accomplished speaker, author, and trainer, she enjoys sharing with others ways to improve their analysis skill sets with productive and measurable results when not on a surfboard. Welcome, Jamie.
Thank you so much. Appreciate being here, Sharna.
It's a pleasure to have you on board. So, let's get right to the first question. Why is hybrid facilitation so important? Like, what is the definition?
Sure. So I love using the word hybrid facilitation. So the first part, hybrid, we've come into a world where we have people working both what we'd call remotely, so from digital spaces, just like we're connecting here today, and then as well as in person. And what we're finding out is we're having to bring those teams together. And so that's when I mentioned like hybrid, a combination of in-person and remote participants, however they're participating from. So phone, Zoom, Teams, just through a collaboration board, etc. Now the facilitation part, that's on us as learning leaders and more, because how do you get them to engage? How do you get them to work with each other, not just towards you or for you? You really are facilitating that event. And so when we talk about that, facilitation is meant to make easy. How do you make it easy for all those participants to participate? And again, I'm big on that, calling them even participants,
Right.
not just attendees.
Right. Interesting. Not just attendees. That makes sense. So, what is the key to running a great hybrid session?
So, key to a hybrid session starts with your planning work. So, starting back, I always tell people just like any meeting we're going to have a goal, real clear goal, and not just, to get together. Have a
Right.
desired outcome. What are you
Right.
producing? So, just like you say, like our normal meetings and things will run, whether it's hybrid or not, have an outcome. What are we producing at the end of this session?
Right.
If you start with that, that's key to helping a great hybrid session. Now, when you talk through, though, thinking through an entire hybrid session, it becomes like a challenge and this wonderful dance. Because first, ask yourself, are you going to be in person with others or are you facilitating remotely? We kind of have two approaches on this. Because if you're in person, it feels a little easier with in person people, like you're right there in the room with them, you can talk to them. So I say your first planning activity is to focus on the virtual participants, those
Right.
participating digitally. What makes it easy for them to participate? You might have to think about telling the people in person to always face the camera or talk
Right.
into the microphone. But see, you have to think about that. What you're doing though is how can I make it easy for my online participants to feel just as engaged as my in-person?
Right.
Now, if you're online, it's easy to like have chats with each other right now and we can see the
Right.
reaction. Really
Yeah.
easy. So then we'll flip the script. How do you make it easy when you're remote to make those in person, those few people meeting in a conference room together? How do you make them feel just as included as it is easy to share online? Do you
Right.
have printed copies for them? Do you have spaces for them to show? And just even that, treating everybody equal, I think is part
Right.
of that planning work. We it can be easy to kind of feel that someone, oh, they're digital, they can just access everything. Did you make it
Yeah.
easy? In person, is it easy to access the digital? Sharing screens. Have someone in person share the screen. So, like, I make a big point if we're going to have a big hybrid session, everyone coming to the in person group, they all have to be on laptops because
Right.
that's how everyone else is participating. See, I'm trying to keep things equal, that repeat things. Now, there's a whole lot of facilitation work you can do during the session, and we can always talk more about some of these activities, for sure, Sharna, is
Yes.
that call people out by names. That's one of the best
Yes.
things we can do. Thanks, Sharna, for the question. But here's like a great facilitation trick. When like you ask me a great question, but like a lot of times, like Sharna, because I'm the host or the
Yes.
facilitator, you're gonna ask me. You'll be like,
Right.
Jamie, good question, right? And what I'll do though is I'll go, Sharna, great question.
Yes.
Joe, what do you think about that answer? What do you think about that question? See, I'll like immediately try to get it back to the group.
Right.
I'm here to help you all be successful. And I think that's like that mindset walking in. If we can all think about it that way, how are you making it easy for
Easy
everyone else to learn,
to
to
learn.
grow,
Yes.
to achieve
Yes.
those outcomes, right?
Yes.
It's not about what I know, because I know it, right? So
Right.
you and I are great. We're good. It's how do we get everyone else
On board.
comfortable?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of walking into it. And, like with the structure, and I've got more that anyone can reach out to me on LinkedIn for, is that structure, that planning part, how you
Yes.
engage, and then don't forget to follow up. Because if you did things
Right.
virtually, send it on email, make sure everybody accesses, put it in a shared Google Drive or SharePoint site. Make sure it goes out to the team, even if they were right there. And one more trick here is be mindful, like you said, treat everyone equally. On a virtual meeting, I can stay on longer, even though we ended it, and I'll just stay a few minutes just to see if there's any last minute questions.
Right.
But those questions need to go to the group. Same
Right.
thing in person. A lot of times in person, the video will cut off, and in person, there might be some side conversations. I'll
Right.
ask people, can I include this question in our meeting notes? Or is this something we want to not talk about here because we have lost our virtual participants? See, that's not
Right.
fair to them. So
Correct.
even that piece, so when you wrap it up, make sure you're still treating everyone equal, that team, and communicating out. So there was a lot real short, I know, Sharon. So let me know if you have any
Yes.
questions as we keep going. But that kind of structure I really think makes you successful when working in hybrid teams.
Right. And I think that's really important. Like we take everybody together, like you mentioned, like it's not about just one person, right? It's about everyone. We have to take everyone together as a group.
Hmm.
So that makes a lot of sense. So, what techniques do you use to help run a great session?
Well, I'm not the biggest agenda person, but I like that desired outcome.
Right.
And it's the piece there when I put the desired outcome out there, that's my
Hmm.
goal.
Right.
First, invite the people you need to achieve
Right.
that goal, that outcome. But then only those people you need to achieve that outcome. I know it
Okay.
sounds interesting, and especially a lot of groups are like, well, you have to invite everybody. I go, no, you don't have to invite everyone to your session. You can share with them the outcomes. Most of us
Right.
don't care if me and Sharon know who said what or who came up with the idea. We care about the decision.
Right.
You know? And
Yes.
so let's just send that decision information out to all those CC line in the emails. Here's the people who wanted to know, but they don't need to be there. And so that same context, I will, if we get a meeting and someone accepted, we get all the team, we're all on there, we still don't have one person. I can't be successful running a good meeting for that outcome if I don't have the needed people there. I
Right.
will actually ask a question right at the beginning. I'll be like, Sharon, Aleka is not here today. We needed her for this discussion.
Right.
Should we wait for her? Like, should we go ahead and reschedule? I know that's there. And I ask the team. I still don't make the decision right away, but I do ask the team saying, we wanted Aleka to be here today to help us make this decision.
Right.
She's not here. Are we worried about moving forward? And I'll just
Right.
ask that.
Right.
You can save a lot of time, but getting the right people in the right room
Right.
can really help. Now, then it's a piece. So if you kind of, again, where are you going to put this output? Like, so like go through the who, what, when, where, why. We have our why are we meeting? We have our who, get there. What are we going to do? So are we going to brainstorm and then prioritize? Are we walking through content, going to do an exercise? Kind of give me the what structure. Then ask where and how.
How?
So where is everyone going to be doing this work?
Right.
It could be a virtual whiteboard.
Yes.
Because like we can't do one right in the room, or, can they use the whiteboard in the room? Those that are in the conference room, say.
Right.
Well, does the camera, can that look at that? See, this is the where and the how. The where is where do we put the work? How does everyone see the same visual? How does everyone hear the same conversations? And like you're going to let small groups in person. Do we have room for small groups online or the virtual participants?
Right.
That same piece is now you got to set up that technology part. And even think about this. It goes both ways. Like I said, remember, if you got to think about your in-person participants versus your virtual, depending how you're facilitating.
Right.
So here's an interesting thought. Like online, we get the Zoom link, the team link, and we get in and everyone get access. Does that conference room for the on-site people, does that require a key card or badge access? Is it unlocked? Is it busy? Does it have, here's an interesting thing. Does it have plugs for power supply? Does it have outlets? We forget that. Or my favorite, Wi-Fi. There was no Wi-Fi in the room one time.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So like you say, it's still trying to make things equal. And again, it's not equal, but like treating everyone as valid participants. What does each person need to participate? So they say during that planning work is so important to make your session go pretty easy. From the techniques that I try, and actually like some of my fellow facilitators, we talk about is actually during your session, try to do a little less. We feel like we have to own it. I can see you, you're like, yes, no, I'm coming in, I'm going to do a great session. It's okay, Sharon, to just say, here's the topic. Why don't you all chime in? Or what do you all know about this topic?
Right.
Why do I have to start off right away and explaining the whole topic? Why don't I say, what does everyone know about it? And go around the room. Great way to get everybody to say something right from the beginning.
Yes.
Call everybody out by name. Don't just say conference room, you're up. Joe, Sammy, Fernando, call them out by name in the conference room because you're going to do that online too.
Right.
But I think that's a piece is once you get into it, if you've got a good plan, step back and just ask a few good questions to keep people rolling. It can be, is this enough discussion now to make a decision? Is everybody ready? What more would you all need? Like just a few good questions to seed it. What do you feel comfortable leaving here to teach others? Just kind of there. And then, like you say, that wrap up is just to follow up. Be real clear. Always leave time, no matter how much people are into session, end it early so you have time for wrap up. I think that's one thing we can be good on your time. If you set an hour, at 50 minutes, wrap up the conversation so you give yourself that space. You can always follow up with more, but going over and people like, I got to jump to another meeting and I'm done with the training, they're going to lose it. Get a nice solid ending of what we've done and what's next. Because again, it's about your desired outcomes. If you want people understanding how to use the system, it doesn't matter what agenda you followed or not, as long as they're comfortable, and what's the next steps. I know there's a lot in there that say it gets to be so much fun once you get into it. And I think that's the part that we need to remember. The session before the plan, after the planning, and before the ending part and follow up. Really just enjoy that and get them participating with each other as much as possible.
Right. And I really took the right person in the right room, wrapping up on time. Wrapping up on time is something we all face in some of the other hybrid facilitation session. Like everybody really needs that time, like you said. The post like follow up can happen, but yes, wrapping up on time is really need of the hour. So how to best how to best facilitate when you are in person?
So when you're in person, one of the biggest things, again, I like is the names, because then you can be real
Right.
clear on the
Clear.
names. And it's like a personal pet peeve for me. But when someone asks a question, don't assume everyone heard it. Just
Right.
restate it. And you can do it totally, like you say, Sharon, and be like, Sharon, did I hear correctly? You had a question about what to do in person. Is that correct?
Right.
So just I can say it that way, like I'm validating, make sure I heard it correct, but now I'm
Right.
restating it. And
Restate.
also,
Yes.
even though you're in person, we forget, like online, we know things are recording. In person, if you have like the microphones that are in between people, you want to make sure anything that comes from your audio is very clearly said.
Very
So
clear.
like
Yes.
that's one great thing to do is always repeat questions, especially in person, because I want it right into the microphone. I want it
Right.
recorded, that way the AI transcripts and more have it. And so restate questions. And like I just mentioned, deflect it to another participant. Because especially you're in
Right.
person, the virtual participants will feel like they're coming towards you. Not remember, they're coming to the group. And if
Correct.
someone doesn't chime in right away, they all kind of look at you and you're like, oh, good question, Sardina. What what thoughts do you have on that, Roger? And just turn that right over. Because again, I want them talking as much as possible on there. And then it's being mindful of watch what is happening both in person and online. So in
Mhm.
person, you're looking for sidebar conversations. If that
Right.
happens, encourage it to be shared to the group because online can't do that. You know,
Right.
if there's my biggest thing I actually watching is like for scribbles or someone wants to get up on the whiteboard and draw something out real quick. Here's what I'm thinking.
Yes. Yes.
Pausing and say, hold on, let me get the camera real quick so everyone online can see that. Which
Yes.
again, now like planning purposes, do you have a second camera?
Yes.
And a lot of times, by the way, is ask your security, can your smartphone be a second camera? That's an
Yes.
easy way. Normally, I can try to get like more visuals,
Hmm.
or I'll even just pause and say, hold on, everyone. I'll go take a picture and upload it to like the team's
Upload it.
chat,
Yes.
because I want them seeing what's happening in
What's
person.
happening? Right.
Yes. So that's the part is to watch for is sit there when you're in person, picture go, if I was online, did I hear it? Did I see it? How can I interact with it, in fact? And so, like, even in person, like I said, I make you bring your laptops. Everyone
Right.
else is online. Why do you get to just sit there? No, be online. And that's again where I say, like, where is the work happening? I'll do a Google Doc or, a file on OneDrive, share that out with the group, and I'll say, all right, great idea, Sharna. Can you add that into our document? And
Right.
again, even just like that, see one more little facilitator's trick, no matter what you're doing. When someone has a great idea or says something, you don't be a note taker, ask them. The more they do, the more they're bought into what you are trying to achieve. So
Yes.
even just like that, I'll be like, great idea, Sharna. Can you put that in our Google Doc? And it's slower than if you just did it sometimes. But now Sharon she's right into it. She's having to write it herself. She's going to be clear. She's
Right.
now owning that. That
Yes.
ownership is great. And those are some of my favorite ways to really call out, like you say, when you're in person and other people are not.
Right. Yes. That's some really cool facilitation tricks. Um, so, Jamie, how to best facilitate when you are participating remotely?
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Flipping the script now here. So the piece on there, again, I'm going to repeat the questions and be really clear on calling out the conversation. So I'll be a little, it's hard because you want to be respectful to someone talking. If you
Right.
hear something though coming from especially the in-person participants, is I will just kind of pause and say, hold on 1 second, I apologize. Was there a question from the in-person? So I try to be nice and not call out, hey, there was some discussion I didn't hear. Hold on, was there a comment or a question we want to chime in from And again, not just say in person, I'll say from Joe or Selma.
Right.
You want to be like, was there something you wanted to add to that last comment? Want to be clear. And again, I'm always using their names. These are people, call them out as people. They're never groups, everyone means no one a lot of time because you say everyone's doing a good
Yes.
job. Like, well, everyone's going to work on this afterwards. Nope, that's why we like you
Yeah.
say like good project managers. You can task assign to people, call people out by name, be very individual on there. And what you can do is instead of restating what someone might have said online,
Hmm.
same thing, get the in-person participant, someone there to say, is this what you agree with, or can you restate, your thoughts on this topic, or how you might go about this, just for clarity. Getting someone to second opinion, it helps make sure everybody really is hearing the same thing.
Right.
So I like to do that a lot of times, is ask and be like, that's a great perspective, Sharon. Aleka, what is that the same approach you use? And she could be like, yep, and we just keep moving. Or, well, when I think about it, but now I've got her participating. And that stops me from having to say, all right, Sharon, is this exactly what you said or meant? Again, one more time, try to do less as a facilitator. It's one of
Right.
those weird things that during the session, we want to do everything to make it run right. You're actually
Right.
doing a whole lot less.
Right.
The planning part, now plan for it, plan to be virtual. And so, what are your options on here? Like, we haven't talked about this, like if you share materials. This is why I
Yes.
loved collaboration tools, because I can
Right.
keep sending links. Here's the link. Even if you didn't print it out, if you have printout for in person, how is it online? Did you tell
How
them
is
ahead
it?
of time you might want to print
Yes.
it out? Bring
Yes.
this with you. Is digital okay? Maybe digital is totally fine
Right.
on there. But do you have those ready? So, like for when you're remote, really make sure everything's ready to resend, reshare. But that's
Right.
where, even again, my in-person participants, when I'm remote, that's one of the big things is I want them online with us. So
Right.
now we're almost turning them from in-person participants to virtual,
Virtual.
acting just like the rest of the team. You know, it's okay. They don't have to turn their laptop cameras on, use the conference room camera, but work in that same space we are. Use the same meeting chat that we are. That can really help. Again, like I say, we're just bringing everyone together. And the more
Right.
that people come in together, the more that they feel they can work together on the outcomes.
Right. Right. Interesting. What considerations are there to getting the teams to participate asynchronously?
Now, asynchronously, that let's start there. That just means we're not going to all participate at the same time,
Right.
right? So, and that can be a lot of times we see that with hybrid because not everyone's on at the same time. We have time
Hmm.
zones and we
Yes.
leave the open chat. They watch the recordings. It's a wonderful world we can live in to be so productive, and maybe too productive, right?
Yes.
Too many opportunities. So again, go back, and I'm always a big person, desired outcome. What needs to be produced? And then in what way may all these people participate to produce that outcome?
Yes. Go
And
ahead.
so sometimes it could be as simple as review and approve. So, how will they review it and how will they approve it?
Right.
That's so for asynchronous is all right, you can attend a meeting where we're going to discuss it. How do you get part of that discussion? Well, maybe the recording. And then how do you submit your approval? So there's a thought that for asynchronous, if some of us met, not everyone's live,
Right.
we leave the meeting knowing not today, but 2 days from now, we need to be in agreement on our decision forward. So, like,
Right.
again, like how you said, leave that time at the end of the meeting. We're leaving
Right.
time, acknowledge we're going to have some people who weren't here live who are going to have to participate. Well, I call it asynchronous. So, not at the same time. They're going to participate on their time. And so, leave that knowledge there. Okay, they will. So, how will we get their approval? And so maybe, and again, this is where I like everyone the equal. If you're letting
Right.
someone 2 days from now vote yes or no, why not let the entire group vote yes or no from now.
Right.
So sure, some of us discussed it, recorded it, we put our notes. All that goes to everybody. Everybody on Friday, vote to confirm. And then again, what are your next steps? Always be clear. If our vote is confirmed, I'll move it forward and submit to approval or the financing group. If it's not approved, we will meet next Tuesday to address any questions. But then even like that, okay, where are those questions going to go for people who maybe can't meet next Tuesday?
Right.
Is there a space for them to ask questions and to get answers? So that might be my meeting agenda for Tuesdays. Everyone submit questions. Those who can attend Tuesday, we're going to talk through these.
Right.
And then I can even ask, because if I have those questions ahead of time, is there anyone else we want to invite to Tuesday's meeting who can help answer the question? So like you say, Sharon, if you couldn't make Tuesday, but you had a question about the trainers for that training session. Well, I don't know that answer and the people in our group didn't, but I'll invite, Aleka for coming in to Tuesday's meeting because she can help answer that question.
Right.
But again, all my questions go in that a shared space. All the answers go in a shared space.
Shared space.
And then, that next step. So that big deal, and I challenge, especially like a lot of like project managers and people trying to like set up and, they're ones responsible for like, especially like delivery of training programs and more. As much as you can make your content publicly available. I mean publicly, like within your organization.
Right.
But putting permissions and hiding on your computer, it just makes hard to manage.
Yes.
And that, especially when it's work stuff, if it's not like about, salaries or private, very strategic decisions at the board level, why not put it in the shared space? Your computer drive isn't the best spot for people to access. Put it out there because otherwise, again, I don't want the ownership. It's their materials.
Right.
They're the ones going to be using it.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Right? Like how much, if you pause, Sharon, how much of your work right now is helping others be successful? Yeah. So what is their content? Where does it go that they can access? So thinking again, this is that mindset that really help us when not everyone might be there same time.
Right.
So those are some of my favorite tricks. And yeah, I think like we're realizing how much we do so much.
Yes.
And it's like to help everyone else be successful. That's the definition of a facilitator. That's exactly what it is.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yes. So I like how you said that the primary goal is to make sure facilitation is pretty easy, right? That really makes the most difference.
Yes. Yes. And like you say, it might make the planning work more work and follow up more work. But the actual facilitation is supposed to be very easy. Get them doing as much as possible and them being your participants. And once you kind of switch that mindset going, my work is just before and after, that's where I think you can start being a really successful facilitator. Your sessions run really well because people enjoy it because they're participating. They weren't being talked to and just sat on a boring meeting and can't hear half stuff. They were having to do all of it. They were engaged. And people, I think, really appreciate it because you're really valuing their time. You're coming in with a plan, a structure to make it so they can be successful. And when we approach that, that's how we get really good change and impacts.
Right. Like there's a real big difference when participants feel involved in the meeting throughout. And I think that's where good facilitation comes in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like you say, it feels good to them.
It feels
They
good.
don't know you're being a good facilitator. They may not even have a clue what that means. But they feel good. They feel accomplished. They feel part of the team. They feel like really valued for what they're contributing. And that's what you want. That's what you really want.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, Jane. I think I really loved some of the points that you shared. Desired outcome is my key takeaway from this.
Yes. And a desired outcome that can go for any meeting or session we
Right.
run. And I think that, like, even I was creating a facilitator's guide for one of my workshops.
Wow.
And where it's a workshop. So people are coming in and they're going to work. And
Right.
it was like, what do I want them comfortable knowing when they leave here? And to put that right on the top of I just have a Word document, but every time I have a question like, should I add this in? Like, should we do this activity? And it's just me right here because I'm planning. I go back
Right.
to that desired outcome and go, does that help them achieve this?
Achieve it.
And if it does, it's included. I'm like, yep, better put it in there. That'll be good for them, right?
Right.
But if it's like, I'm not sure that it really goes back. Like, it's a good activity. People might,
Right.
like, you'd probably love it. But I'm like, but it's not to that goal. That's our desired outcome. Today I want to fill the time. And like, these are like longer programs where you're like, oh, I got 3 days to do it. It's like, but if
Right.
it's not towards that goal, it's good. It's not in scope. It's not
Yes.
valued at this time. And I think
Right.
that's where we start seeing it can help us because you have great ideas and we probably overanalyze our own work. Be
Right.
really focused, be very clear on what you are and are not going to talk about. And that can be a great thing even to level set, opening your session
Right.
with your goal. But oh, there's one more trick. Oh, I always love this one too. Because Sharna, especially if you got people calling in and participating in all different formats, right?
Yes. Yes.
And someone will say, oh, when are you going to show us how to do this? And that was not part of your plan. You're like,
That's always there.
yeah, see, look at you. You're already visualizing that. So what you
Yeah.
do, if you have a very clear desired outcome, then I just go back to that. Well, that's a very good question. Today we were focused on only achieving this.
Got it.
And
Yes.
what I'll do is I'll either set up, like you say, we can set up some more time or put that in the feedback that we should add more space for that. But I'll go back to the goal. Our goal for today was to achieve this. Start with that first before you respond of, oh, that's not part of today's, session.
Right.
Just go back. Our goal was to be comfortable in this space here.
Right.
That sounds a little bit outside. I'll add it. So now again, my
Mm.
planning, where do I add those questions that are out of scope for follow-up? Here's where it goes. And I do the same all the time on meetings because like just even a meeting, a quick team meeting, and someone goes, oh, while we're at it, can we talk about this? If it's a meeting you scheduled, instead of
Mm.
saying, feeling like no, or letting them talk about a subject and derail your whole meeting, I will do the same thing and say, Sharon, a great question.
Great.
I
Great.
set up
Yeah.
today's meeting to talk about this.
Yes.
Would you like me to put that topic on hold and I'll reschedule our meeting for another time to talk about that and we can talk about your new topic because it might be important?
Right.
Or do we want to table your topic for end of meeting if we have time and let's finish our first goal of today? Our desired outcome was to achieve this. And to be perfectly honest, a lot of times when I ask that in front of the group is like, oh, no, no, just go back. Let's finish why we came here. And if we have time, we'll talk about it.
Yes.
So again, but if I don't have that anchor,
Yes.
now you can sway anywhere else.
Right. Right. What would be one facilitation trick that you love to share with all other facilitators?
Oh, let's see. Favorite facilitation trick. Uh, Probably one of my favorites that has gotten so powerful is don't share your screen. Make somebody else share their screen. Okay, because it's their stuff, right?
Right.
And I will say, if you've been very quiet in my meeting and not participating, even if you totally agree, so like you're just quiet because you agree,
Right. Yes.
I'll ask that person to please share their screen just so that we can walk through and like let them help us type or just point out or navigate
Right.
because it gets them involved. Now you know how, if they are involved or not. And so if they weren't,
Right.
they're instantly involved.
Right.
It keeps them
Yes.
focused.
Yes.
And again, this is where it's really powerful. Even when I've done that, I love watching other people chime in now. And Aleka will come in and say, Sharon, no, over there. You need to go over there. See that menu? That's what we want to look at. I let them, they start chiming in, but see now they're instantly talking to Sharon, no longer me, because
Right.
she's the one sharing her screen. But see, if I share
Yes.
my screen, everyone starts talking to
That.
Jamie
Yes.
versus I
Yeah.
want everyone talking to each other and I'm just kind of in the background. So that power there, and especially like we're talking hybrid here, get the in-person, Joe, why don't you share your screen to the team and talk about what you're showing here?
Right.
It's a great way, again, get them in, get them equal. Now that in-person participant needs to show their screen just like an online person would show their screen.
Right.
Yep, I
Yes.
love that. That one's probably just gotten so much value over the years.
Yes. It makes
So,
sense. Yes. It's very valuable. And like you said, it's powerful.
mhm. And especially think about if you're teaching, like we have so much technology, and how many of us are trying to help people better use the technology?
Right. Yes.
Me showing you will not help you remember as much as you doing
You
it.
doing it. Yes.
And so
Absolutely.
remember, facilitators, I know, remember, it's about make it easy for them. So I've been on the call like left, left, left. No, other left. Oh, okay, go back. Like it's so hard for you because you can't do
Yes.
it. You would do it in tenth of the time. But remember, what's the goal? They need to know it.
They need to
They
know.
need to be comfortable. Just because
Right.
you're comfortable, and I think that's the part. It's not about you. It's all about
Them.
them.
Yes. Whoa, those are some really good tricks, really cool tricks and suggestions that you shared, Jamie. Thank you so much for sharing your amazing insights. It's been a pleasure to have you here on the eLearning Champion Pod.
Oh, awesome, Sharon. This has been so great. And this I know can be just a starting point that we're on LinkedIn and more to continue those conversations. Love asking the questions, getting great questions to me that people are always welcome to reach out for more. Since I know it's a short time and a lot of content here, that they can always reach out on LinkedIn for me for more as well.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Jamie, for your time. Have a lovely day ahead.